At it again on Anderson Street, we are talking about free speech. This one is interesting. We have a delectable table of varying opinions, as only you know we can do, but it takes a serious turn. So we definitely want some, as you probably have wildly guessed, your comments in the comments section. Shocker. So these are some thoughts I want you to ponder while watching. Although free speech is a right, is it relative? Interesting. Secondly, with all these social movements like MeToo, do the participants believe that they will really achieve what they desire from the movement as it relates to them exercising their free speech? Let's specify further. And then the last question is, this one's a doozy, to be honest, you know? Does marketing and advertising feed us what we believe we should be free thinking about? Let's talk about it at the table. I have a question, actually, for you, Dee.
Okay. Oh, goodness.
You were just saying that you hadn't really thought about free speech before, which is interesting because I feel like medium key me too, but also not, because some things have just been more on social media. Mm-hmm. So where are you at with that now? Like, do you actually care? Does it?
Okay, so I'm working on this theory. I began thinking about it because I knew I was gonna be talking about it, and I was like, what? So, but I was thinking that I feel like a lot of the conversations around free speech have been really politicized, which is important.
Yeah.
I think that obviously free speech needs to be, it's free. It should be allowed, and everyone should be able to do it. I think what's important is that there's an opportunity around free speech that I think as a culture and as a mass, and that's not a conversation, an opportunity that we're not taking, which is to see free speech as what it is, which is expression, and to see it instead as something that's, like making somebody not be able to say something isn't solving the problem of why it is that somebody is feeling a hurtful way towards you. So if we look at speech like almost like a symptom, but more like evidence of a culture or of a system or of a movement, then there's opportunity to learn more about how we're influenced and things that need to change in like more systemic and cultural ways. Does that make any sense?
Yeah, so do you think that it should be a right that is determined by the government?
I mean,
or should it just be a thing that isn't politicized?
I mean,
and people are free
ideally, I mean, like utopically, if that's even, I think idealistically.
LOL and ideals.
Don't even.
So,
well,
yeah.
So ideally, I don't think I wished it didn't have to be something that was written in a law. I wish it was like, oh, of course people can say what they think and express their feelings.
Common sense.
Like.
Depends on who and what's common, right?
I think a lot of the policies, the political talk around it, take away the human part, which is what speech is. So it kind of is like creates this wall that I think gets us away from the opportunities that we have about viewing speech and considering it.
Okay. So one of the first things that comes to my mind, because it's trendy, is Colin and the NFL. And Nike.
Oh, yeah, of course.
Right. You feel where I'm
going. Yeah.
Well, like, what are your thoughts on that? Because the NFL's private, and thereby there is no oversight from the government on a private. Is that?
Oh, I don't know all the political stuff.
I think that's true.
I think so.
Let's go along that's true, in fact. So that's not politicized, but it's being politicized, like you were saying. So I guess I'm just curious to know what anyone's thoughts are on that.
Well, I
don't quite know what mine are yet.
I mean, he should be able to say whatever and express his feelings in whatever way that he wants. We're humans. That's crazy to me.
Mm-hmm.
In a work environment, things are more regulated than they are outside of a work environment, and that's actually where some free speech is. There's like a very distinct line.
I'll give you two approaches to that.
Okay.
So, is it the fact that he's taking a knee during the anthem that everyone's so upset about? Or is it the reason that he's taking a knee? Because I can give you another example. I can give you a few examples of individuals taking a knee during the anthem at a professional football game, but the motivation behind it, or even the person that was doing it, kind of regulates the way it's viewed. And the two people are Tim Tebow and Colin Kaepernick. So Tim Tebow would take a knee every day, and he was praying for abortion rights. You know, he's Christian, virgin, all that, but that's fine. And
all that other stuff.
no one batted an eye. No one batted an eye. But now that Colin Kaepernick has taken a knee, a peaceful protest to say, individuals that look like me but not me, because you're going to see this afro and they're going to give me a break, but the young kid that's never played a game of football or just a regular person, you know, he might have a lot harder time at a regular traffic stop or crossing the streets because he fits a description or he's a target of someone's in authority's bad day. And that happens a lot. So it's just an opportunity to say, take a moment to think about what's happening. I want to bring light to an issue, and those who find difference in that opinion are taking it in a different way. And I just think that could believe.
But, you know, when it comes to free speech, everybody should be able to say what they want. But the responsibility of that is, are your words intended to hurt someone, to empower someone, or to belittle someone for your own gain? So then it's like free speech then it's not just free speech. It's a tool or a weapon or something else. So I think you should be able to speak your mind, but what's your true intent behind it?
So even though it's private, the owners can do what they want with their teams and they run the business the way they want. You should be able to say what you want, and it's an altruistic gesture. It's not saying we hate the police or we hate anything else. It's just,
we want you to view this
as regular people, because there's a young Caucasian kid that can go and shoot 5 people and threaten to burn everybody else with a Molotov cocktail. They'll talk him off the roof. But, you know, a kid riding his bike with a cap gun that's a purple toy handgun, they'll kill this, sometimes a little kid, you know. And I think that's like the bigger issue. Like, all right, what's the big fear? What's the big issue? Is it free speech? Is it What is it? Else entirely. You know, I think it's performance enhancing drugs, because all the police are kind of really swollen, and that looks like roid rage to me. Right. Like, not that I've ever done steroids or seen people with steroids. I've seen a couple people do steroids. Right. I was about to say. They're quite angry and aggressive, and it's like, you know, the conversation is like, you know, that conversation when you go to a bar and the guy wants to fight you because you look like the person that talked to his girlfriend. You just got to the bar, but he's gonna fight you either way. It's like, sir, I just got here. Please, I just want to walk home. Nope, they're going to fight you, or in another case, it's going to be worse. And my father was a police officer, so I'm on Team Blue. Right. But, same. You know, hey man, this is not cool.
I mean, I think that we took a dangerous turn in policing, and it actually goes back to the drug laws. I think really at the end of the day, because as soon as you took cops and you turned them into kind of the guards, as opposed to being the protectors, you see exactly what you see in, you know, the prison guard experiments and stuff like that, which is that, like, it doesn't really matter who it is. And this is what people should remember about cops to a certain extent, which is that we all could be that bad. Every single one of us has it in us to become a Nazi, to become a prison guard, to act that way. And there's no question that these men are dealing with stressful situations. I think that at the same time, we need to take a really firm line and say, listen, we got this problem. However we got here, it's a problem. We can't have cops killing unharmed black people. Like, that's just outrageous, at numbers that are, you know, so just telling that there's a problem. It's not a question, and we need to change the. I think we just need to change the punishment. I mean, I think that the real reason, and I think the real reason for anger is that we're seeing that, like, even when it does happen, there's no consequence. We don't do anything. We let them go free, and that is really, because all it would take is
another job at another precinct, or
not even that. Yeah, I mean, it's just.
Or there's dialogue coming out, hey, it's better to shoot them because it saves a lawsuit, or it saves, you know, it's horrible. But again, I think it's just a group of people that are taking advantage of their position and their power.
Sure,
they're
but do
police
you,
officers.
but in a devil's advocate position, do you think that since we've just made a left turn, frigate, here we are. You know what I'm saying? In the event that the police feel as though they're being targeted as well, even in New York City, they get shot point blank just for being a cop. Because of all the fear that has been induced, whether it's a combination factor or whatever the case may be, they're in a state of fear as well. So how do you have both populations, the protectors and the protected, in states of fear of one another, and try to reconcile a way to say, we can't have police brutality, but we also can't have brutalization of cops?
Well, there needs to be healing, and I think it's a difficult thing, you know, because it's kind of like a what happens first kind of, you know, situation. It's a little bit complicated.
The
but
police, I don't think, were targeted and
No.
assassinated. So the reason
No.
those one-offs where, granted, it's a tragedy when any police officer or anybody's killed, you know, or murdered, but there have been far fewer police officers that have been unfortunately murdered in cold blood, which is horrible in every situation. But there are probably an exponential amount of innocent, white, black, female, foreign, it doesn't matter, that have been killed because of that fear.
and that's not
Fine,
the only.
that's true.
And,
It's
and
not
that's not
just
the only
little black
time.
boys, really.
And they don't
There's
have
a
a right.
whole lot
Yeah.
of other populations
Well,
that are
absolutely.
getting.
And also, these other marginalized populations aren't only being discriminated against by the police. So that's
right.
just a symptom of a much larger issue, which is systemic and educational and
Also,
cultural.
we know that it's
So,
a dangerous job to be
you
a cop.
know.
It shouldn't be dangerous to be a 5-year-old boy, right?
Well,
Thank
yeah,
you. Or a regular person.
absolutely,
yeah,
yeah.
like if,
So that's
if
the
the level
question.
of danger is higher,
Then do
being
another
a cop,
job.
Then doing another job. Yeah,
Don't be a-
exactly.
don't be a
Then
cop. Like,
that's an expectation.
If you're afraid of potentially shooting another person, don't join the military. Like, that is going to be a role of the military, and you relinquish your choices. You are a soldier, you are a pawn to do what you're told. So you can't have a moral compass. They say stand there, you might get blowed up because you're going to help someone over here, but you have to stand there. If you don't want to do that, if that's too dangerous for you, don't. If you're a police officer and you're fearful, you're full of fear and you're scared, don't be a police
So it's
officer.
also a question of who are you scared of? If you're always scared, if you're only scared of one type of person, then you know there's an issue. There's an issue with that.
I don't think they're scared. I just think, like,
Well, I know,
how do
I'm
people
just
treat
saying,
pit
I
bulls?
don't, you know.
Like, pit bulls are the smartest, gentlest dogs ever, and they're an American breed. But have a pit bull and try to get a new apartment. Is that a pit bull? No, it's a bull terrier. It's a, you know, a Sheltie breed, but it has a little bit of bully in it, and they won't let you move there.
But that's because that's a perception that you have
Perception.
about the pit bull. You see a pit bull on the street, you think it's going to snap at you, you think it's going to bite you, and that circles back to what you just said about Colin Kaepernick and Tim Tebow. Why one person's action doing one thing is perceived completely different, you know, by the other person. And I think that an interesting thing in all of this is kind of like the repercussions of what happened. You know, what happens in cases like this. And like, I thought a lot about what actually was going through Colin Kaepernick's mind as a smart person, as, you know, an educated person when he was making this decision. And I think he knew really well, you know, what the repercussions were going to be. And like, look at him now. No NFL team is going to sign him. No team wants that publicity. Nobody wants that attention on them. And that's something that his freedom of speech, his right to exercise, is now, as a professional football player, you know, no longer the case for him. He's never going to be able to play again.
But would you want to play for an owner who looks at you as basically cattle, as a horse, as a piece of property that I don't like what you're doing, so we're going to throw you away? You're not a person, you're a thing. And again, Colin Kaepernick was advised by a military veteran to say, instead of sitting on the bench, take a knee. Because when they think of their fallen soldiers, or at the end of the day or the end of their tour, they take a knee. So he did exactly what the military would do, but the perception.
And also, now that
the
he's
choice.
done it, the public knows how the NFL treats their players. I wasn't
No,
aware.
Not always.
No, but now that he has taken a stance, and now that people won't sign him, and the way that people are treating him, it's like, oh, there's been a problem that I was unaware of.
That may be
And
true
that's important
for altruistic
that's
people like you, but
For a very small.
the viewership for games
Yeah.
in this time period, when did the season start to right now?
Like a few
Sometime
months
in
ago,
August, maybe.
yeah.
All right, it's higher than it's been in the last
Yeah.
5 years.
Yeah.
I know, and that was mind blowing
Right.
for me too.
So
yeah.
altruism versus money.
Oh yeah.
You know, money flows through that organization. It's an organization. At the end of the day, Colin Kaepernick may not be signed, but he did a great service to the organization.
But the NFL's inability to
But we still needed
back
to
him in
know.
that or like support his decision by him now being someone that's never going to get signed. Like to me, that was kind of the craziest thing in all this. Like
He doesn't
that's
want to
where
get signed. He doesn't want to play football anymore. Because would you want to go to work for Harvey Weinstein, even though you're going to get $1 million a week?
right. Like that's what I'm saying. He
Like-
knew what he was doing. He knew he wasn't going to play again. Like and his belief behind taking a knee was trumped all of that. Like none of that mattered.
I think he meant to change it, definitely to expose it, but
Expose it
to
is
expose it to
different.
say the owners, like take a different look. And there are some that have softened up. There's some that have softened up, like Jerry Jones would never. He'll never soften up. But Dallas is
what it
Dallas. Like that's their shield. That's what they do.
Yeah.
And that's how they think. So I don't think he wants to play football anymore. Number one, CTE and PTSD, that's real.
yeah.
So he's a quarterback and he's a target. And especially now, if he were to play football, he has to be concerned, will his teammates protect him?
Yeah.
Do some of them
Correct.
feel that he was hurting the game by making that
I
stance?
think a lot of them do probably think that.
Well, people are people, and there are some a-holes on every team. Like, you don't want to run behind that guy. You know, I know you guys can hear me.
You can't know those guys.
You can't.
Lord.
But you know, I think he made a great decision by bringing that to light. And again, it's exposing. Like, I don't want to play football. Like, I'm president of the NFL Alumni Association, the retired players. So all the players who are starting to suffer the effects of CTE and PTSD, the older players, like my connection with medical cells and stem cells, I'm always keeping my ear to the ground. Like, hey, this might help some of my guys. And then the proper channels to introduce it to the NFL and see if they'll introduce it to them. It's a business. They don't want to know anything. And I know some things that can help people right now, but I can't take it. I can't show it to them, you know, because of liability.
Wow.
And a regular person on the street can, but I can't say, all right, not as a representative of this, but go over there and talk to that guy. It might help you live a better life with the time you have left. Political or financial associations, I can't do it, because if someone goes there and says it was bad and wants to sue, we're all in trouble. Freedom of speech. Hey, go get help. It's right over there, and we'll all get in trouble. It sucks.
Sounds like America. I didn't say it. But Colin's also getting Hollywood knocking, so.
Of course. I mean, Nike just paid him.
He's gonna be fine.
Why
Nike
you
just
hitting
paid
the head
him.
anymore?
Everything is fine.
There
Why
are no
you hitting the head?
repercussions.
I thought that ad was dope.
Money, money, money. That's what it is.
And it went well for everyone. In that,
Yep.
in that. Listen, if the NFL got a whole bunch of like free press by just having this issue.
Yeah.
I mean, just
They-
the
I mean,
going
that's
back and
it,
forth.
yeah.
Like, who cares what the little things that happen at the end of this? If viewership is up, then they're making untold amounts of money on this free press. So they don't care whether he takes a knee or doesn't take a knee. To be
Well, that's
honest,
the problem, though.
they just like the back and forth.
Well, yeah.
Because it's like his message is not being.
Yeah, I mean, the hope is that speech and culture is just as valuable, if not more valuable, than money and business. And I think, slowly things like what Colin did need to happen for that to even be an opportunity,
But he had to sacrifice himself.
And it's going to
And
take
also-
more sacrifices
I mean,
in
he
order
had to
for
sacrifice a lot, but he also gained a lot.
Yeah.
Like, again, internally, like,
Yes.
like emotionally and
Yeah.
mentally. Like, it's important
More of
to
a
stand up
soul
for
alignment.
yourself.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
But
So
If he's like a famous speaker for the rest of his life, speaking on I mean, he's going to be the guy that started this
and he's impacting
movement
the
for
lives
the
of
rest
young
his life.
children.
But
and,
devil's advocate
it's-
can never have a misstep. Can never be the guy that is at the bar having a glass of wine.
To who though?
To anybody.
To the
the
social
phone,
medias.
To
I
anybody.
mean, not to his the people that are aligned with him.
But
And
that's not the
Why? Is it
important
because
people.
he's brown?
It's because he's brown. It's
I
because
think
of what
it's
he
where we're going.
represents. Because of what he represents. Like
He'll always have that.
Well, 'cause he's in the-
identifier.
yeah, exactly.
Period.
not always. Hopefully the numbers grow. The more people stand up for themselves and stand out, the more people are like, "Oh my, I feel like that too. I'm not alone."
I think we're in reality.
The more
Yeah.
TV culture, and the
I think
honest
you
truth
have,
is
you have
the
a very
more
idealistic view of what this nation
God
can
bless
do
you.
Also
socially.
globally, just humanity.
Humanity.
Humanity. Yes, correct.
Don't even.
Nobility. Sorry.
all this stuff can be solved with education.
That's my.
The
That's
smarter
really
that people
like,
are,
That's my thought. We
they don't
always
get-
think about
yeah.
the public like oh poor public.
Like, poor public,
They don't
yeah.
know. It's like, well, that's the problem.
That's the
is
problem.
the public needs to know.
Oh, and I also literally just got banned from the North Brooklyn community Facebook, which is a very
Look at you
interesting.
out here.
No, which is a
By
very.
an admin.
So they wouldn't let me back on another one, and they wouldn't let my girlfriend because she's associated with
Yeah.
me. So you can just.
But
so it
are there
happens.
rules on that Facebook group that you
No,
didn't
but I-
adhere to?
no.
So they banned you because they don't like you.
Censorship.
Fine.
100%.
So it's like you can assemble and be hateful. They were shooting guns at people. Like you have the same group. Everybody looks like me. No tiki torches, no knives, no guns. We don't get our ass kicked. We're not always gonna make it home.
I mean, I think this is kind of really the interesting thing about freedom of speech, where I like have problems, right? Which is that like free speech is free speech because it's difficult. If it's not
Right.
difficult speech, then
useless.
there's
there's
nothing to
lots to learn
protect,
from
right?
it.
Then like it's really only when shit gets uncomfortable that it starts becoming the kind of speech that we need to protect.
So we just wrapped our convo and it was excellent. We hope you liked it. Make sure to like, subscribe, follow YouTube, Patreon, Instagram, Facebook. And yes, you'll see this ending a lot because who doesn't love a little consistency, and we wanted to do it one time, so let's be real.